always a bit spooky when somebody is just behind you, and you never know what he's going to do. I mean, before you know, he starts pinching you or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, he always makes us funny here?
You're rolling, right? No, he's rolling. So, good morning. Who are you, and what are you doing here at the Next Web Conference 2014?
Hey there, so I'm Volgens Chabot. I head up the International Developer Relations team for Twitter. And we're actually speaking here tomorrow about living in a mobile future.
All right, that sounds very interesting. So, if we're talking about a mobile future, what will it look like in your, from your view?
So I think the really interesting thing is that we're at the beginning of the next big wave of innovation in the mobile space. The pattern that innovation usually follows is that we first replicate what we did before. So the earliest versions of the internet were basically digital brochures. They were a copy of the printed brochures, right? And I think mobile phones in the beginning, they were replicating the desktop experience. So they try to have the same button layout, the same way they work, the same login system. But of course, mobile phones have a lot of unique capabilities, and we're just starting to figure out like what a real mobile application looks like, and that's different from a desktop application. The other thing that's really interesting is that there's 1.5 billion PCs on this planet. There's more smartphones than that already, and it's growing to 3 billion smartphones. So the size of the internet is about to double or triple in the next 3 years. It's a hot space.
So will the future of the mobile space look really like mobile phones, or will they just disappear, and will it be sensors and everything, and will it be integrated in your body or extensions of your body and things like that?
I think that technology has its true social impact when it's not technologically interesting anymore. We see that if we look at like disaster areas where people are using technology to find family members that are missing, they don't think about how to boot up a computer. They just open up their phone, they click on a button, they go to a map. It's become invisible. It's like electricity, you don't think about it anymore. And that's where the real power of technology shows itself in society, when it becomes technologically boring. So I think the next step is we're not going to work on these boxes anymore that we hold in our hand. It is going to disappear into the fabric of our normal lives. It's going to be in our clothing, on our buildings. It's just going to be part of our everyday lives, and that's where it's really going to have its impact.
Obvious question, of course. So what is Twitter going to play for a role in that?
So we're obviously a company that's born in the mobile space. Like a lot of people ask us, why is a tweet limited to 140 characters? And that's because a text message is 160 characters. 20 characters of that is reserved for the name, 140 characters is reserved for the message. Now, the interesting thing is that if you're in a disaster area like we were talking about earlier, you can still send text messages to Twitter, even if the internet is down and everything else. And that's why it's an indispensable companion to life in the moment, because it always works no matter what technology you use, what kind of phone you have, what kind of infrastructure is still functioning. So we're a mobile first company, we were born that way. And we definitely think there's going to be a lot of interesting things happening in the space. That's why we're investing heavily in companies like Mopub. We acquired them a little while. It's a mobile advertising network. We're solving problems for developers by building tools like Crashlytics, which is better crash reporting. It allows you to build more stable applications. That's basically the punchline there. So every time that we see a need in a mobile space, we definitely take a look at it and see how we can be valuable there.
One last question. Have you discovered a new or another trend other than what you're talking about today, or seen something around here, or maybe expect to see that tomorrow that you find very interesting?
There's a lot of them. Like I said, we're in the beginning of a new wave of innovation. If you look at payment systems, when you go to Africa, 43% of GDP of Africa goes through M-Pesa, which is a mobile phone-based payment system. So cash is slowly disappearing as something that plays a role in our life. It's all becoming digital payments. We see the same trend in China. E-commerce, if you look at China, the market there is growing so fast. There's 80,000 people joining the middle class every day. That's a staggering number. They can't build shops fast enough, so these people are shopping online. And they're peaking at like $5 billion in sales in a single day. Now those are staggering numbers, so that's a big trend where everything that came before the internet is slowly being absorbed by it, and we see the preludes of that in like payments and e-commerce.
Well, talking about payments, it's a bit of a sidestep, but I bought several Zeta coins the other day, which is an altcoin, and the rumors are that they will be integrated with M-Pesa in Africa. Do you know anything more about that?
No, I've just been reading the same news as you, it's an exciting development for sure. It's taking M-Pesa away from a federated currency into a currency that's owned by the people themselves, and that's a really interesting move, obviously.
Would there be some sort of an integration possible in the future between Twitter and some sort of alt currency or a digital currency?
That's an interesting question. I think that Twitter is a communication platform first, so we don't necessarily need a payment system, they coexist. But of course, I mean, at some point, if you want to find the right store to buy stuff at, that's something you could do with Twitter. If you want to connect with other people and find out information about the things you want to buy, you do that on Twitter. Would you have to buy those things inside of Twitter? I don't know if that's the next logical step.
Thanks very much.
Awesome. Cool.
Perfect,
That was cool. Yeah.